A single spark is all it takes to ignite a great conflagration. What if the Mongols had nukes? A surprise attack from without warning, a city leveled in an instant. In the aftermath, survivors wander through smoldering ruins, grasping at the why and wondering where it came from. Was it Genghis Khan come again? They point to the sky, which is choked with smoke. Even the sun seems to weep fire. But some see another story in the flames, one that speaks not of gods, but of ghosts in the machine, spirits unleashed by sorcery to lay waste to the living. And some see no story at all, only the glory of total annihilation. But what if this destruction wasn't wrought by bombs or catapults, but by code? In the 13th century, Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes roamed from the Pacific to the Baltic. By the mid-1200s, the empire was the largest contiguous land-based realm in history. Now today we define warfare pretty broadly, encompassing not just tanks and troops, but psychological operations, propaganda, and disinformation. Paradoxically, in a world with few roads, limited literacy, and scarce clocks, we fight wars of perception as much as of position. So here's what would happen if the Mongols combined irremediable mobility and appetite for conquest with a 21st century secret weapon, cyber warfare. Let's do it. In 1206, after years of fighting for dominance on the Mongolian steppe, Genghis united the various tribes under a single banner and proclaimed himself the Great Khan. Though a fierce warrior, Genghis also appreciated the value of intelligence and efficiency. He sent his grandson Batu to study under the great Muslim mathematician and astronomer Al-Khwarizmi. Scholars debate whether Genghis himself could read or write. Either way, he commissioned the creation of the secretarial script, a phonetic script based on Arabic that would allow Mongols to record their language and numbers. While historians can debate the exact nature and extent of Genghis's education, it's clear that his successors were avid learners. When Marco Polo visited the court of his contemporary, Guyuk Khan, he was amazed to find a library full of books on subjects ranging from astrology to alchemy. Kublai Khan, a patron of the arts, is said to have kept a printing press in operation to produce books and distribute them across his realm. Finally, though the Mongols had no electrical grid to speak of, their administrative centers boasted sophisticated clock towers that regulated time across the empire. This spirit of pragmatism, openness to different cultures, and attention to detail make the Mongols uniquely suited for mastering new technologies, especially those that can expand their reach while minimizing risk. And there is perhaps no technology better suited to the Mongol way of life than cyber warfare. First, some definitions. Cyber warfare encompasses offensive and defensive actions taken against computer systems, networks, and data. In other words, it's war by other means, information being the new battleground. Just as gunpowder shifted the balance of power in medieval Europe, so too has the internet reshaped the rules of modern conflict. Today, states and non-state actors alike wage war in cyberspace, attacking infrastructure, manipulating perceptions, and accumulating leverage. One report found that between 2008 and 2014, China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and the United States launched more than 1,000 significant cyber attacks against one another. These aren't always spectacular affairs. Many take the form of hackers probing systems for weaknesses or covertly installing software that allows for remote access. Other times, however, cyber attacks make headlines. In 2015, Sony Pictures, a major Hollywood studio, was hit by a massive ransomware attack widely believed to have been orchestrated by North Korea in retaliation for the movie The Interview, which depicted the assassination of its leader. More recently, the United States, Britain, and Ukraine blamed Russia for launching malware attacks against Ukrainian infrastructure. Perhaps the most consequential cyber attack to date was the 2017 NotPetya attack, which disabled computers and disrupted operations at shipping company Maersk Line, causing more than $300 million in damages. The Mongols are well suited to harnessing these tools for waging war. Today, the methods are many and varied. We'll focus on four. First, intelligence gathering. As the saying goes, the battle is won before it is fought. In today's world, satellites orbit the globe, relaying images down to ground stations. Drones buzz overhead, recording everything from weather patterns to troop movements. The Mongols, meanwhile, had outposts located at strategic points along trade routes. These provided way stations for travelers, but also served as hubs for merchants and spies alike. Travelers heading east to west often had to spend months traversing the Eurasian steppe. Along the way, they passed through cities, towns, and oases, each ruled by local lords. Some were friendly to outsiders, others hostile. To ensure safe passage, merchants and travelers would typically hire guards, some armed and some not, to protect them from bandits and rival traders. By hiring former soldiers and experienced trackers, the Mongols could gain valuable intel on potential targets. Scouts would document every stop along the route, keeping careful track of distances, resources, and potential allies. From there, they would prepare detailed reports for the Khan, who could peruse them from the comfort of Karakorum, the imperial capital. Second, misinformation and propaganda. Before radio and television, newspapers, broadsides, and pamphlets were the height of propaganda. Today, news travels instantly around the globe, relayed through a tangled web of cables and wireless transmissions. Misinformation spreads alongside it, carried by anonymous accounts and bots. Back in the 13th century, the Mongols cultivated an image of invincibility, bolstered by stories of their valor and ruthlessness. Yet they also understood the value of deception. One of their most common tactics involved sending riders ahead of the army, bearing gifts and pledges of loyalty to cities they planned on sacking. Once inside the city walls, they would kill the messengers, and the unsuspecting locals would find themselves at the mercy of the oncoming horde. Similarly, the Mongols sometimes pretended to flee when cornered, leading their enemies far from their camp before turning and cutting off their pursuers. Like Ghost in the Machine, they strike when least expected. Third, sabotage. As we've already discussed, the Mongols excelled at logistics, building roads, bridges, and supply depots to keep their armies fed and moving. Likewise, they weren't afraid to destroy infrastructure that would benefit their enemies. By sabotaging roads, bridges, and buildings, the Mongols could disrupt their enemy's ability to mount an effective defense. On a larger scale, they could even target systems that regulate water flow, crippling a city's ability to feed itself. This kind of attack is rarely decisive on its own, but it can sap an enemy's will to resist, helping to bring about their ultimate downfall. Fourth, control. Every day, people around the world wake up and boot up their computers and phones, trusting that they will work. Few of us consider that these devices could be turned against us, tracking our movements, listening to our conversations. By infiltrating systems, cyber warriors can learn an enemy's plans and even manipulate their environment. Imagine waking up to an alarm that warns of an imminent outside threat. People respond by locking their doors, hiding in rooms, checking under beds and in closets. All the while, assailants slip past them, unnoticed and unchallenged, thanks to blueprints covertly acquired in advance. Then the invaders strike. Windows explode and screams fill the air. Chaos reigns as people try to flee, only to be stopped by steel barricades installed without warning. Somehow their every move has been anticipated. How would a realm like the Mongol Empire fare if granted the powers of cyber warfare? As it turns out, very well. Much like the samurai and ninjas of feudal Japan, the Mongols combined martial prowess with an understanding of stealth and subterfuge. Their horsemanship and archery skills are the stuff of legend. Their cavalry was so devastatingly effective that no army in the 13th century could stand against them. In fact, the Mongols didn't lose a single major battle. This reputation for invincibility made them ideal shock troops. Yet they also knew the importance of intelligence, diplomacy, and subterfuge. In particular, the Mongols' talent for languages proved invaluable in their campaigns. Many Mongols learned the languages of the peoples they encountered, allowing them to operate more effectively as spies and negotiators. Most importantly, they were masters of disguise. Spies could easily infiltrate enemy camps, assuming new identities and blending in with ease. It's no coincidence that the term spy is derived from the Old French word espier, meaning to look like or resemble. With these talents in mind, imagine the Mongols given the means to hack into systems, plant false intel, sabotage infrastructure, control communications. They would become unstoppable. Their agility and ruthlessness would allow them to carry off daring raids deep behind enemy lines, returning home with riches and prisoners to boot. Unable to defend themselves against phantom assailants, enemy cities would fall one by one. As the heartland of the empire grew richer, the Mongols could turn their attention outwards, projecting power across the Eurasian continent and beyond. They could even threaten the great trading hubs of the Middle East and Mediterranean, laying siege to Baghdad and Alexandria, Constantinople, and Venice. No city would be safe. The rest of the world would tremble before the Mongols and their ghost in the machine. And yet, despite their military genius and openness to new ideas, the Mongols never developed cyber warfare. Perhaps they lacked the theoretical knowledge necessary to develop modern concepts like encryption or algorithms. Maybe they simply didn't encounter technologies like electricity and semiconductors until it was too late. Whatever the reason, we are left to wonder how the world might have looked had they done so. Many of the greatest empires throughout history fell victim to hubris and overreach, leaving us to ponder what might have been had they known when to stop. Rome stretched her borders too thin, and her legions grew overextended. Genghis Khan died before his empire reached the oceans, leaving his successors to divide the lands among themselves. Perhaps the greatest empires are those that know when to walk so as to arrive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow for more. Until next time.